Dr. Lara Ashmore, and I'm going to moderate the panel today. I'm the Director of Emerging Technologies at the Center for Brain Health at UT Dallas, and I'm joined by some very esteemed business owners on the stage here. We have Dr. Lindsay Harper from Rosie, and we have Kelly Thomas Drake from My Purple Folder, and we have Adena Harmon from See Here, and we have Richard Margolin from Robokind, and Chris Brickler from MindVR. So I, rather than just read their very interesting bios, I'm going to have each one of them introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about their business. So we'll start with Dr. Harper.
Thanks. Hey, thanks for coming. I'm Lindsay Harper. My background is that I'm an OB-GYN physician and really felt passionately in my office that my patients deserved better access to accurate evidence-based information to improve low sexual desire. So as we all know, men's sexual health is addressed far and wide and comprehensively, but the same is not true for women's sexual health. And so it became my passion to do a better job of that. And I created Rosie, which is an evidence-based mobile application to connect women who have low sexual desire with evidence-based resources for improvement.
Hi, my name is Kelly Thomas Drake. I'm the CEO and founder of My Purple Folder, Patient Records Connected. And what we do is we have a universal healthcare digital master key for patients to streamline their healthcare experience. So no matter how many electronic medical record systems you're associated with, you can access all of them at the tap of an app for free. As a patient, we sell directly to healthcare enterprises to help offset their costs because it's difficult in this day and age with meaningful use and compliances for everybody to have access to all their information, no matter how many systems they're associated with, and then also update their care team. And so what we do is you look at it on our phone, and then as soon as you stop looking at it, without storing the information, it snaps back to the electronic medical record system it's originally housed in. And then also you update any of your care team in real time every time something happens with each one of your care teams. So the reason why it's called My Purple Folder is because I kept everything in a purple folder for my grandmother when I was her care giver when she had cancer. So not only do we help with electronic medical record systems, we also help with your images, we also help with your legal paperwork, so advanced directives, medical power of attorney, advanced directives, durable power of attorney, transportation, prescription log, all of that stuff that is on your back-end system, and then things that you need to establish for free to the patient. So glad to be here.
Hi, my name is Adena Harmon. I am the originator and CEO of See Here. We are out of Dallas, Texas. We're newcomers to the arena. We actually received our patent January 22nd, and we are about to become what you will be known as a disruptor to the internet, because what we've done is we've actually taken a single image and been able to add audio and text, anything that you want to apply to, any file format you can add to our image, and it can be shared. Right now, the only way to share an image and you want to have sound is to save it as a video file, which we all know is a huge file. So if you save just an actual image and audio recording, that's the exact size you're going to have when you're through. So anyway, I'm glad to be here, and I thank you for your coming out and listening to us today. Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, I'm Richard Margolin. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Robokind, and we make small facially expressive robots, and they're used to help kids with autism learn social, emotional, and behavioral skills. And we're in about 400 schools around the country, working with close to 10,000 kids now, and we help kids who have been in therapy for often case years and made not a ton of progress or kind of stagnated, really accelerate their progress because the robot's able to act as a kind of easier to engage with bridge than other humans, especially for people whose kind of primary issue are social deficits. And then we also recently launched a new curriculum called Robots for STEM to teach elementary school kids to code, also in primarily public schools. And the big challenge there was most elementary schools don't have teachers who know how to code or teach coding, so we had to develop a curriculum that basically can be led by anyone, including the students themselves. And so with that, it just launched in November, but we're already, I think we just crossed the 4,000 student mark. And I expect that by the end of this school year, end of June basically, we'll be at close to 30,000 kids across 100 DISD schools. So that's what we're doing.
Thank you.
Great. Hi. Thanks, everybody. I'm Chris Brickler, CEO, co-founder of MyndVR, MYNDR. We're a virtual reality company that has set out to basically reimagine and re-engineer virtual reality away from the millennial sort of gamer world that it's been so heavily focused on over to a very senior-friendly interface and pool of content and overall service offering that really works for our aging population. And it's just been so exciting over the last 2.5 years since we started the project in San Francisco and Dallas. My co-founder was here running a large organization with a lot of skilled nursing and running music and memory type programs with iPods and music and trying to re-bring to life the aging mind in some cases, really with great success. I was working in some virtual reality with music, and we decided at that point that what if we put virtual reality together with music, proven science, and brought this to a vast market of people in need. So I can't say how meaningful I feel this business is after 25 years in tech and content development and cognitive science projects I've been involved with. This is probably the pinnacle of a place I could have landed personally in terms of meaningful socially challenged or socially engaged businesses.
Great, thank you. So for our first question, can you talk about who or what has inspired you to start your business? Maybe share a little personal story or some little tidbits for us. Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I started RoboKind in 2011. I had been the engineering director for another robotics company and was building human scale, human realistic robots. Most of our customers were university research groups, and I ended up supporting a lot of autism research through all these different university studies. And there was tons of evidence that robots like this could be really helpful at engaging people with autism, communicating with them in ways people couldn't, being more consistent than people ever can. And besides that, besides the work I had been doing, there was another 25 years of research in this space. And then as I kind of dove into it, I really saw there's all this research, but no one had ever looked at how do you get this out of the lab and into the classrooms where these kids are. And there were a lot of barriers, cost of the actual robots being a big issue. Some of the robots I was building at the time were multi-million-dollar robotic research platforms. Other people were starting to play with the idea of some product. It was still very expensive for schools, and they weren't really focused on curriculum. And so while there was all this research, it seemed like some people were taking the approach of maybe there's some magic here where if there's evidence that robots can help people with autism, maybe if we put them near each other, magic will happen. And that's not the case. It's never the case with really any technology. And so we focused on both the robot platform for education that was cost effective for schools, but also developing a real comprehensive social and emotional and behavioral curriculum. And, like any startup, I thought it would take not a ton of money and maybe a year and a half. And it took about 5 years before we actually launched for real and started really getting into classrooms. And then with a kind of new and disruptive technology, have been fighting that kind of early adopter curve and feel like we're just kind of crossing the chasm. So that's where we are now.
Great, thanks. Adena, you want to tell us next?
My inspiration started when I was working with a NASCAR driver, and I know NASCAR, everybody's thinking, okay, she's a little redneck, but don't judge me. But anyway, I was doing some social media work with David Reagan and giving away a F-150 through his Ford dealership out in Perry, Georgia. And so I was like going on to Facebook and running ads. Then I'd look at the analytics later, and I was like, oh my gosh, people need to look at, they really just want to look at, oh, a car wreck. That's all they want to see. And so I'd spend money on videos, and we'd pay for this and that, and then I'd have images, and then I would spend time putting in content. And most people weren't reading that part either. They just wanted to see the car wreck. So I said, okay, there's got to be a better way. So I wanted the picture of the car, and I wanted the sound of the crash. So how would I make that work together? I'm not a coder, I'll tell you that right now. My arena is in social media. And so I reached out to Jesse Collard, and he's our COO. And I said, how do I make this happen? And he says, well, let me think about this. And he reached out to one of his buddies who happens to be a coder. And he said, oh, this sounds like a great idea. Let's get started. So in 2015, we started working on this. And one thing led to another. And then in 2017, no, I guess it was 2018, it was brought to our attention that there is a whole space in the world out there for the people who are visually impaired. So we decided, okay, let's take a look at that and see what we need to do to make our technology be a digital accessible tool for those who are visually impaired. So we reached out to a company called Accessible 360. They're out of Minnesota. The founder he was born blind, and the co-founder she's a spitfire. I mean, she's just on fire. She can just get going. And so we met with them online and talked with them and said, what do we need to do? And they said, well, screen readers read linear. And so if there is an image on a website, the odds are they have no idea other than it says image of. And there might be a 2-word description, boy in boat or something like that, boy boat. And that's all they're going to get. So if they're like looking, or if they're online to place an order using, say, whoever's going to do some delivery, and they go to that website and there's a hamburger. Well, there's a picture of a hamburger, but they're going to get a quick description, hamburger, $3.49. Well, the picture tells the story. We know pictures tell a story because in that hamburger you're going to see this piece of meat, some cheese, and lettuce, and tomato, and it looks delicious. It's sitting on with some French fries. They haven't a clue. So we're working with them to be able to identify the triggers that can set our technology into motion, and they'll get an audible description. So then, after we started doing some more investigating, we found out there's some more verticals for us. And so we just partnered up with Bennett Health, and we are going to be going into the market space of radiology. Because that space, too, needs to have some better tools to archiving and for their images and for the file formats. So we're talking with a group right now, and Dr. Ochterberg, Jean Ochterberg, is coming on our staff, and she will be leading that arena for the radiology. And so whenever your doctor has an image that you need the information on, odds are you probably don't know what you're really looking at. So if you could hear your doctor describe it or have the opinions from the other doctors in that image, and it's sent to you and you get to take a look at it, like you get to see your pictures, and then you have to read all this stuff. Does it really make a lot of sense to you? But if you can hear the doctor say, well, you're really okay, it's just a broken leg, we can fix it, this, that. So that's how it got started, and it was an inspiration from NASCAR. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah, a very interesting switch from NASCAR.
Right.
So, way back, what actually happened was I was ejected from my life as a congressional aide on Capitol Hill to take care of my grandmother full-time as a caregiver. And she was elderly, she had cancer, and the majority of all my family are all physicians. I grew up in the healthcare space, and so it wasn't sort of new to do this, but it was new to take care of somebody. And so I helped her with her keeping up with her medical records. However, I actually had to step away because giving her transportation, providing prescription log, really communicating with each of her care team members, and there were about 9 of them, between the oncologist. She also had a neurologist. She had, a gerontologist. She had all of these different care people that I had to keep up with things and keep them updated at the same time, and also work with my family in tandem in communicating with them on different coasts, as well as my grandmother's care team. And I thought, there's a better way. We're not your typical family because we're not intimidated in that arena. However, it was even difficult and daunting for us. And so then came along EMR systems because of meaningful use, which was passed in 2001. It's a legislative. So everybody knows about HIPAA, and that's a federal compliance check. That's for privacy, both for insurance companies as well as healthcare enterprises. But meaningful use made an already archaic, kind of primitive way of non-collaborative system called healthcare ecosystem even more transparent and disjointed, because now the box that they have to check is patient portals. So may I have a show of hands? Is who here is familiar with patient portals in a healthcare setting? Okay, so basically what a patient portal is, meaningful use, just when you sift through it, everybody must have access to their own information on demand. So that's basically what it is. But on any healthcare campus, let's just, one hospital system, there are probably, and on average, there's about 17 electronic medical record systems that they interface with, even just on one hospital campus. You can only imagine if you travel or if you have a chronic disease like cancer. And so therefore, my mother, who is a breast cancer survivor and also a physician, she has 13 different patient portals that she has to interact with, that she has to keep updated. 13 different passwords, 13 different logins, all of that different stuff. And so what we've done is, think mint.com, but for your medical records, and highly security, all the encryption, we stay updated. What we've done is all you have to do is just establish an account using the same universal demographic patient information. We make a universal digital MasterCard that you can get in and out seamlessly, look at your records. We have your images. We also have, I also figured if you haven't graduated from medical school, you should also be able to know what's going on with you or a family member. So using AI, we have a translation of what's going on with you in your chart, and it shows up on a anatomically correct figure, and all you have to do is tap the highlighted organ, and it shows you whatever's going on diagnosis-wise. You don't have to communicate it. You don't have to understand it. We also get your electronic medical prescription logs, so you don't have to remember whatever difficult to pronounce 26-letter word, medication and how many milligrams. It cuts down on contraindications with other physicians. And so what a contraindication is when medications don't counteract with each other well. And so it really cuts down on that. We have transportation to and from that you can connect with. We connect all of these different parts, which are your core information at an intake or any follow-up visit, so that it takes the burden off of your shoulders as a family member or a patient. And we've been doing pretty well. I feel that the whole world needs this, but our first target demographic is the cancer, the oncology population, and we most recently were supported and endorsed by the National Institutes of Health and National Cancer Institute. And I just keep on running like Forrest Gump, and people are behind me.
Wonderful, thank you. Lindsay?
Okay, so the inspiration for Rosie really was my patients. I had so many women in and out of my office every day that were expressing the same problem to me, which is that They loved their partner, and they really felt that their relationship was fine, but they could really not care less if they ever were intimate again. And it was over and over and over. And so the one patient, this is not her real name, but we call her Chloe, that really expressed this to me. Really, she told me, she said, I have never talked to anybody about this because I feel like my friends would look at me like I had 3 heads. And it's like, that just broke my heart. And I really was passionate about telling her, I'm like, hey, listen, literally the 3 people right before you told me this exact same thing. And just her knowing that fact, just normalizing the problem, really took her out of a place of shame and isolation and brought her to a place where she was open to hearing about interventions and things that she could do to help. And so that's a major mission of the company, is to really help bring women together, help to connect them on this really common issue that's core to who we are as human beings, and something that's gone completely ignored and not talked about until now. So really it came from my patients, and that's my target who I hope to help now.
Great, thank you. Chris? Oh, sorry, we can pass that down.
Sure. I talked a little bit about the inspiration in terms of how we got started in the early days. I can say when you run a socially engaged business like this, every day is an inspiration for us. And what we've done with virtual reality essentially is trying to improve the quality of life with our senior citizens. From 65 to 105 years old, we're helping tens of thousands of seniors across 20 states today. We're also doing university studies with about 7 major universities around the country, really studying the effects of how this content and this platform can help with age-specific conditions. And so I'll just keep mine short, but there is a email that just came in, yesterday from one of our studies, and it says, one of the participants in the Mind VR study is a man that has Parkinson's. Some of the symptoms of Parkinson's is that they develop tremors and double vision, both of which he has. However, when he puts the Mind VR headset on and watches the videos, he noticeably, he noticeably loses the tremors and says that he can see the videos well. Another amazing thing is that his favorite video is in zero gravity. We have an International Space Station video that he finds extremely exciting. That's just one inspirational email that we seem to get on a daily basis with all of the work that we're doing with our research and our customers that are out there that are subscribing to Mind VR. So the inspiration is to help build the quality of life with our company and with this new technology.
So that's great. So all of you have in common the mission to help and change people's lives. Do you think that that's made it more difficult to start and manage your business, or what are some of the challenges that you face doing this?
The challenges I have faced are squeezing blood from a turnip, which in this world is raising capital, right? And then getting people behind you to support you, real businesses, raising awareness and building credibility. And so what keeps me going is the fact that I'm in it to change the life of myself, really, like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure or Back to the Future. When I started going through the problems, I wish I actually could have just entered a time, even a DeLorean, that's fine. Those of you who know the movie and those of you who don't, go back with the flux capacitor and just hand it off to myself and say, you're going through this, I'm you in the future, use this, it will help save your life. And every single time we have a meeting, whether it be capital raising or partnership meeting or anything having to do with business on the front end, undoubtedly, every single time without fail, somebody stops us. And instead of discussing numbers or ROI, they say, I could have used this, or I could use this now. Let me tell you why. And then they go into their personal story about how they've had to keep up with medical records for a patient, in their family, for themselves, and where can I have access to this? I need this now. And what has kept us going and with such resilience and tenacity is the fact that we are changing lives. Like, this is needed. It's needed now. It's needed yesterday. last year, 10 years ago. And so when things get tough, it's just always to remember, why we started and what we actually touch within somebody's life, which is, quality of life and quality of health, really, really helping to take the burden of the bureaucracy of healthcare off their shoulders and back to being human. So that when we're squeezing blood from a turnip, it matters most. And that helps us feel, our heart more. We lead with our heart. So the money comes along and the partnerships come along because we're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. I totally agree with what you're saying. I think that having a mission-driven business is an asset. I wish everyone had a mission-driven business because that's what you cling to, like on the hard days and on the days when people are not, loving what you're doing, seemingly. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, actually, I know that what I'm doing is really good, and all you guys can just step aside because this is happening. So, I think that the mission of my business particularly is, everyone thinks, oh, what will investors say? Like, it's such a sensitive topic. It's actually not. Like, people just are looking for someone to start the conversation about sexual health. And so once I do that, y'all would not believe the questions that proceed. And that's great. I love that. I want to start the conversation. So that's been a real asset. And the fact that, each of the companies that we've built are so core to who we are as humans actually really helps our businesses. And it's like, these are destined to be successes. We just have to find the right way to do it. And so that's really our mission, I think, from my perspective. It's like, this is going to happen. I just need to be the steward of making good business decisions. So.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I guess in terms of challenges, I'll definitely echo some of what was said in terms of, raising money and things like that. With respect to what we do at RoboKind, we're working primarily with public school systems, which means we're working with government as our customers, which means that everything happens if you're really lucky, at an absolutely glacial pace. So we've overcome some of the early, what's the evidence and things like that, because we've got, 20 plus academic studies and case studies and independent reports from entire, state departments of ed and things like that. But we still deal with someone telling us, oh, we want this and we have money for it and we want to move fast, and then 7 months later, 14 months later, you're still waiting on a purchase order, and every day or every week or every month, they're calling you and telling you how much they want it and how much they want to get started. And I think working with government as customers, I think that's just par for the course. But when you're trying to raise money around that, and you've got, a pipeline of millions of dollars, but some of the things are aging out and look like they're never going to happen to any traditional investor, you start to look like an optimistic liar. And that's very frustrating because we're doing good and we're helping thousands of kids every day, but it's because of our customer base. Sometimes it takes literally 16 people to sign off on something that, if you really did an analysis of it, is probably more money on the sign off for them than on what they're actually spending on our robots and our programs. And it drives you crazy sometimes as someone who, who's trying to really make change and have a real impact. Just the impediments that are there because of the systems that are in place. And it's obviously very frustrating, as I'm sure you can tell by my reaction. But that's really, I think that's one of the toughest parts of what we do at RoboKind. And our only solution has been try and go higher up the chain, because it doesn't happen any faster. But when you finally get something through, at least it spreads out, and there's more that happens at once, by 10x, 50x sometimes, things like that. And that's the only solution. If it's going to take 18 months, try and deal with a state rather than an individual school, because it seems to be the same amount of bureaucracy no matter what level you're at. So that's been our biggest challenge, I think.
So that's a great segue into my next question. When you're dealing with these frustrations and issues and challenges, where do you turn for support? Are there resources and organizations or products or people that you look to for advice and support?
Yeah, I mean, I have a good personal set of mentors who have been in the ed tech space before, and a lot of them, constantly tell me that, one of the biggest challenges in ed tech specifically is just surviving long enough to hit that growth point because of these challenges, because bureaucracy and government are so slow. Beyond that, I mean, it's other people in the space. It's lobbyists who help you get these meetings and things like that, which isn't like the most fun thing to transition to. I'm a founder. I'm an engineer and a neuroscientist who used to build robots that look like people with my bare hands, and now I lobby basically 90% of the time. And so that's the only kind of way I figured out around it. And you meet good people who are allies who want to help you get things done, and they help guide you through these processes, but no one can accelerate it, which is the really unfortunate part of it. So,
Anybody else on the panel want to share some of their resources?
Okay, so I'm so glad that these two went because they describe the frustration of every entrepreneur. And so you have to surround yourself with positive people, and because there's plenty of naysayers. And if you don't know something, I'm going to be mom here, Google it. Because the truth is, it's out there. The information's out there. And if you talk to enough people, those people will know someone that can help you answer the question. It's just like when I talked with Jesse, he took us to Taha Kadado. Taha took us to Simon Gong, and I mean, it's before we knew it, we had a product. And the frustration for us was always, what are we going to do? We've sold the house, we've sold the car, what do we have to give up next? The money will come, and now we're at that point for our company, is that we're not looking for investors right now. So not to say that we won't down the road, but right now we're not. So for us, it's you reach these little milestones, and you keep going. And every day when I wake up and I don't know something, I Google it, or I call one of my support people.
Great, thank you.
I'd like to say, there's an interesting article that came out in INC magazine about maybe 5 years ago about what people don't talk about, the truths about entrepreneurship and how we are just kind of, behind closed doors. We're in a fetal position, just, terrorized. And we chose not to be on the, cubicle plantation in order to just eat, breathe, sleep, be consumed by our businesses, and be overwhelmed by it. And to answer your question, there's smash rooms that I've heard of that you could, I actually want to try it. But in addition to that, Warren Buffett is very famous for saying, he takes at least 10 hours a week to just think, be quiet and think. So if that's taking me time at home, if it's traveling, if it's going for a drive, if it's meditation, yoga, whatever, what have you, just take some me time to step away from the table, because the table's always going to be there. No matter where you go, what you do, it's always there. So the common denominator is you. So what I do is I just step back, and I'm a big proponent of me time. So I try to travel domestically, internationally, try to go to classes, learn some new perspectives, just really kind of not always be so consumed about it, the outcome or the non-outcome of the daily or the minute to minute, and kind of just think.
Yeah, that's great advice. We actually, at the Center for Brain Health, where I work, we call that the brain power of none. And we talk about how this is really essential to prime your brain and optimize it for innovative thinking and to come up with these new ideas that entrepreneurs obviously have to keep it going to the next level with their company. So that's really great advice.
And in Italy, it's called dolce di niente, the sweet art of doing nothing. And so do that at least 10 hours a week if you can fit it in. Write it in between Starbucks and everything else.
Great. Lindsay, do you have anything you want to share?
No, I just need to start doing that because
The brain
clearly
therapy.
I did not do that.
Yes. That's great. So I definitely want you guys to talk about how anybody here in the audience and how we can get access to your products and your services.
Well, thanks for asking. Yes, so Rosy, ROSY, is available in the Apple iTunes store, and it's available on Android starting in May, say the developers. Please check it out. Our website is www.meetrosy.com. MEETROSY. And what we offer in the app are evidence-based interventions. So those include educational videos about all topics for women's sexual education. So if you download the app, you'll see me counseling about all different topics about that. So I would really love for y'all to just check that out. Even if you're a male in the audience and you just want to learn more, it's a great resource. There's also a library of romantic and erotic short stories, another evidence-based intervention for low desire. And then the third are pre-recorded sessions with a psychologist and author. Her name is Dr. Lori Mintz, and she has written several books on the topic that have been proven to improve desire. So she counsels on 22 different topics that have to do with communication and intimacy, and can really improve any relationship that you're in. So the app is free, and then there's a premium upgrade. But I would just love for all of y'all to check it out if you're interested. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Kelly, how do we get access to my purple folder? I was telling you right before the session, I was like, my daughter has epilepsy and unfortunately have to deal with healthcare providers all the time and keeping track of all the portal passwords and things like that. So I personally could use this, and I'm sure everybody in the audience could as well.
Thank you for asking, Laura. What we're doing right now, we're in private beta with 3 large institutions and endorsed, with the support of the National Institutes of Health. And so what it will be is commercial probably within the 3rd quarter of this year, where it doesn't matter what healthcare institution or enterprise you're associated with, you'll be able to see it commercial, if you will, and then download it. But right now, it's only accessed by our private beta pilot institutions, and it is available on the App Store to them, but it will be available to the general public 3rd quarter of this year. So I look forward to that push, that launch. I really do feel you on the whole. It's not any quicker than as fast as you can go with as much push. And I do a lot of things with my incredible team as well. And so you can get access through mypurplefolder.com, contacting us, asking us about it, interacting with us to see if you can support both financially as well as put us more into institutions, and contact us directly just through the website. And we'll be happy to entertain a conversation about getting involved with one another. So
Great, thanks.
You.
Adena?
You can visit c-here.com to learn more. I also had some books left over from South by Southwest, and we can have them available if you want to take a look at them. And we also have an app, but we're really not trying to push the app so much because we don't want to be in the app business. We want to have other companies using our technology. But you can find us in the App Store. And so it's c-here.com or c-here in the App Store as well. It's also in the Google Play Store. So you can visit that, and you can play around with it. You can share pictures and have sounds, and people can respond back in that same image, and you can have a whole conversation. So anyway, we'd love to hear from you, and if you have any ideas for us, we'd love to hear those too, because everybody that we talk to, somebody has a different use for it. We can use it for law enforcement, we can use it for medical, we can use it for education. So anyway, if you have an idea, we'd love to hear from you. It's a letter C and then -HEAR.com.
Awesome. So you can check us out at robokind.com, and you'll find lots of information both about our autism and coding courses, and lots of videos of kids using the program in schools and things like that. With our autism program, if you know anyone with autism, parent of a child with autism, let them know about us and let them know that they really have the power to ask or even demand of their schools to get better tools like this, because a lot of parents don't understand the rights they have as advocates for their own children. On the coding side, if you've got a kid, under basically 12, and you think they would enjoy learning to code, also tell their school about it. It's a really fun course. I've been in a lot of classrooms recently watching 3rd and 4th graders outpace their teachers and be more creative than a lot of us were in terms of coming up with the curriculum and learning a lot from a lot of very young kids. And it's just an amazing course that I'm proud of. And, I want every kid to have access to it and every kid to understand that learning to code isn't just about a technical skill, that it's a creative outlet. And, so check us out at robokind.com.
Great, thanks. Chris?
Okay, yeah, thanks. Right, so at MindVR, myndvr.com, we're pretty much supplying this product right now to senior care communities across the country. So it's more of an economic way for us to reach the broadest audience in the first phase of our business is going through a sort of a B2B approach. We have skilled nurses in these communities and recreational therapists that really help along the process. And what we try to do with seniors is take them out of their 4 walls of existence. And sometimes as we get older and depression will set in, feelings of isolation, and what we want to do is bring them out of the 4 walls into the 5th quadrant, is what we call a place where the consciousness can connect with things that they're losing connection with as they get older. Pets, animals, travel, destinations, bucket list items they've never been able to do before. The content is really limitless in terms of the network that we're building at MindVR. So if you have loved ones that are in homes and you think their home might be a good candidate to have a few of these that are shared amongst the residents, is how we've made it work so far, then you can come to our website or contact me directly. We will have an offering in 2019 that will serve our loved ones directly that are aging at home. But that's going to take some work on our business, and that's part of our objective this year.
Great, thank you so much. So we're out of time, unfortunately, but thank you so much for all of you being here, and good luck with your businesses. And we can give them a round of applause now. Thank you. Thank you, thanks.